Hello again everybody, back with another video. Not long after the last one, it was many months before that, but I've come back with another video. So this one I'm looking at the code of the Southport Stabbings incident, which happened in the UK at Southport on the 29th of July 2024. And I've been collecting the code around this incident and looking at the spin-off things that have happened and looking for code and days between dates, and it is quite surprising, I must admit. So it's the Southport Stabbings, which, as it's been reported quite a lot, which is S is 3 and 3 in gematria, so it's a 33 already. Just that the puppet Prime Minister, whose role is to be the face of the demise or the accelerated demise of the UK, was elected on the 5th of July 2024, and the date of the stabbings was the 29th of July 2024. Now, before we look at the difference between these dates, Southport stabbing is also 233, which is a prime number, and it's also one of the sequences of the Fibonacci numbers as well, as you can see. Also 67 in Chaldean. You can argue 6 and 7 are key numbers. 6 times 7 is 42, which can be 6 times 6 plus 6, or it can be 7 times 7 minus 7. So the 7s and 6s with that number are pretty much joined. But if we go back to the date between the Stabbings and Keir Starmer, so we've got the 5th of the 7th 2024 when Starmer was elected, and the Southport incident was the 29th of the 7th 2024. If we look at the duration, it's 3 weeks and 3 days. So what does that number give us? It gives us a 33 for Masonry. Now the date, 29th of July, if we had the 29, the 7th, the 2 and the 2 and the 4 from 2024, we get 44, which is the kill number, because kill comes to 44 too. If we put in it as 29 July 2024, we get 105, which can be 911 or 666, as we can see here. 911 gives us 105, and 666 gives us 105. Keir Starmer, very interestingly, that name is 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number, and it's also 56 in Pythagorean numerology or full reduction, which gives us 7 times 7 plus 7, and 911 is also 56. So that Keir Starmer and that date are quite coded. Now, if we look at the suspect, who is this Axel Mugangwa Rudakabama, his name is 216. That coincidentally is 6 times 6 times 6. And he starred in a Doctor Who themed Children in Needs advert, and Doctor Who themed in full reduction is 77. In Chaldean it's 72, 2 7s, so we've got a 7-7 code there. I'm not calling this out in any way, I'm just looking at some of the key codes you see in it. Now if we look at the Southport incident and Axel's birthday, his birthday is the 7th of August 2006, so his birthday after the event will be the 7th of August 2024. If we look at the dates between those, it's 216 hours. 6 times 6 times 6 plus 666. That's a coincidence. Now definitely when the police raided his house, they found knives, arrows and a biological chemical weapon called ricin. So he's certainly what we would class as somebody to be blooming terrified of, especially with this mad look pose he's got here. So I called him a super bogeyman, effectively. Now Axel Rudicavana pleads guilty to the Southport murders, 6 key developments, but Axel Rudicavana, without his middle name, is 44 in Chaldean numerology, 44 being their kill number. So we've seen that one before. Now, if we look at tracing where he came from and everything, he lived in a semi-detached house in the village of Banks, which is not far away from Southport, and he lived on Old School Close. Now, Banks is 47, Trump is the 47th president, so it could be related to him. We may see that number again later. But Old School Close is 157. 157 is the 37th prime number. 3 sevens for 777. Also 37 by 18 is 666. So it is a factor of 666 as well. Interesting. The alleged tragedy happened at a Taylor Swift themed dance class. Taylor Swift theme is 223. We'll turn that round a bit. You've got 322 for Skull and Bones. That's interesting, and we've got that 67 again for the links between 6 and 7. 6 times 7, 42, which can be 666 or 777, and it links between those as well. So that's interesting. And this is where he lived, and he took this route all the way down to this kind of back street dance studio to commit the atrocity. It's about 4.7 miles. I'm not looking at code here, I'm just looking at why he would choose to do what he did in that particular area. Who knows how his mind worked. So this was where it happened, Heartspace Studios, and Heartspace is located between 2 residential properties, 32 and 34. So I wonder what the number is between 32 and 34. It just so happens to be 33. And I'm not saying that it was, but if you did want to stage an event, doesn't this look like the perfect place that you could possibly do it, where it's easy to cordon off? Just saying that. I mean, I'm not saying either way, but I'll leave you to make your mind up on that one. Now this is an image here showing what is it, Tithe Barn Road, and Tithe Barn Road is off Hart Street where the incident happened, and there's a photograph of Tyburn Road here, Tidbarn Road here, and the flowers and this sign on view against a brick wall, which could be, bricks, synonymous of Freemasons. And if we look at Heartspace, that's 37, we've seen that number, 3 sevens for 777. If we look at Tithe Barn Road, then that is road expressed as RD, which it is here. Look what we get 119 for 911, and we get 56, which can be 7 times 7 plus 7, and it can be 911 as well. Hart Street gives us that kill number again, 44, and Tyburn Road in full gives us 135 in English ordinal. A is 1, Z is 26, which is the octagon internal angle. 63 in reduction, which is 63666, and 216 again in reverse, which is 6 times 6 times 6. So quite a bit of code there. As I said here, 911 is 56 in Pythagorean numerology when spelt out, 911. Now, Sefton Council works with Heart Space owners to open a new location in Southport. So an old restaurant called the White House has been chosen. Here's its postcode. You put that postcode in and it gives you in Pythagorean or full reduction 33 for masonry. White House is 133, 137 in reverse ordinal, where Z is 1 and A is 26. Reverse reduction and Chaldean both give us that 47 again, which could be related to Trump. We've got 133 is 603 score and 6 for 666, the biblical representation. And afterwards, at some date, which was the 20th of August, Keir Starmer met Taylor Swift at the Wembley concert. Number 10 confirms. And this is when he had his free tickets, apparently, why you would want to go and see this questionable female here. Who knows? But they met on the 20th of August. And if we look at August 202024, we end up with 33 for that date for masonry. Now, if we look at Taylor Swift's birthday, her birthday was the birth date was the December the 13th, 1989. So when this incident happened in 2004, so this is a Southport incident, Taylor Swift's next birthday was the 13th of the 12th, 2024, 13th of December, and look what it gives, 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number. Now if we look at the Southport incident, when Axel Rudick Barman, aged 18 at the time, on the 20th of January 2025, we look at the difference between those, we get 22 days. Now 22 is a master number, but 22 could be a representation of 211, because 211s are 22. That's the 47th prime number, so that reference again to the 47th president, maybe. If we look at when Starmer was elected to when Axel was convicted, so he was convicted on the 23rd of January 2025, then that gives us 202 days. If we ignore the 0, there's that 22 again. And also this one with the fallout and the riots that happened afterwards, lots and lots of coverage on that. We had 22 officers injured. This is the 31st of July 2024. We got the 22 again. Now what followed that was the rioters were classed as racially motivated thugs, far right, and there was misinformation apparently because somebody in Pakistan released a name which was a bit of a joke, that people were starting to say, look, this guy's a migrant and he's come in and done all this, and then there was uproar and all kinds of hurty words, and allegedly some key profile people arrested, and this has kind of scared people into not posting things on social media. So God knows what will happen to me, but I'm not calling this out in any way, I'm just showing you the code, but it's just a bit of information there to what happened afterwards, and maybe one of the purposes was to frighten people from posting things on the internet. But one of the people that was high profile jailed was a guy called Peter Lynch, and he died on the 19th of October 2024. He actually, according to the information, he actually hung himself, which is kind of a bit of a coincidence with that name. I'm not going too much into that. But if we did look, he was actually sentenced on the 22nd of August 2024, and he died on the 19th of October. So if we look at that, for example, this date here, the sentencing, so the Southport incident, we've got that date, we've gone over that. Peter Lynch sentenced on the 22nd of the 8th 2024. The gap between those is 3 weeks and 3 days, just like it was between Starmer's election and the incident. So we've got either side, we've got 33. Very interesting. And if we look at his initials, P Lynch, it gives us 33 as well. That's quite interesting, isn't it? This number keeps cropping up. And if we look at the Southport incident and the date that Peter Lynch was found dead, so that was the 29th of July 2024 to the 19th of October 2024, we end up with 2 months and 20 days. So we've got that 22 number appearing again. And then there was a woman who was sentenced. This has been sentenced. This was a very high profile one. And she was sentenced on October the 17th. And her name's Lucy Connolly. Whether you can relate that first name to somebody with horns, it could possibly be linked. But we've got house C for the initials, which is numerology is 33 and a 3. So we have got 33 there. But we'll take a look at these dates and see if we can get anything on those. So the Southport incident was the 29th of the 7th, 2024. Lucy was sentenced on the 17th of the 10th, 2024. And if we look at this, it's 11 weeks and 3 days. And what do you do if you multiply 11 by 3? You get 33. Now, Lucy apparently had an appeal, and this appeal was thrown out on the 20th of the 5th of May 2025. So her appeal failed. Peter Lynch was found dead on the 19th of the 10th 2024, and when she lost the appeal, if we look at between the dates there, we end up with 213. You could argue that's a 2 plus 1 and a 3 for 33, or it's 30 weeks and 3 days, so there's our 2 3s again for 33 for Masonry. Very interesting. All a big massive coincidence, of course. And then some of the fallout was tougher checks on knife sales, fast-tracked after Southport attack. Eventually maybe you've got to show your digital ID, and maybe you've got to have all your knives confiscated or ground down. We'll have to have a look at some of the other feedback to that. So if we look back to 2018, there was a judge calling for rounded knives to stop stab deaths. So you don't want you to be able to buy pointing knives, which a lot of good chefs probably need. And then we had this Idris Elba guy come out and say remove kitchen knife points to combat violent crime. This was 2025, I think it was January. And then we've had this crime and policing bill, and this is a second reading, and this is this Andy Slaughter making a comment. God, you've got to think about some of these names. And he wants to make sure that manufacturers can be persuaded to sell knives with rounded ends, as some already do. And now we've got one of the survivors, this Leanne Lucas, so we've got double L, the 33. In numerology, we've got Southport stabbing survivor for 333, which is 777. And so leading on from that, wants blunt tip knives to be used in home kitchens in a campaign, she says, for the girls that were killed. So what does all this mean? Does this mean that there's going to be it's going to be illegal to have sharp tipped knives in your kitchen? You've got to have, I don't know, have them licensed, have them ground down, have police inspections. Will it end up on your digital ID and you won't be able to spend any money and you won't be able to buy them or things like that? Where is it going? Obviously, lots and lots and lots of code, which leads into all this so-called censorship and everything else. And a whole lot of things to think about there. High profile arrests being pushed massively by the massive YouTube channels of alternative media that are coming out. Very, very interesting. But that's all I've got to say before I say something I shouldn't. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and goodbye.